Okay, welcome back. So we've had a bit of a description about the minimal group paradigm and what its purpose was to better understand the basic conditions that might lead to intergroup discrimination and the role of group memberships in understanding discrimination. So Tajfel and colleagues had run these studies as the baseline condition that they were going to add to in a program of work. But what was really surprising was that they found evidence of discrimination in this baseline condition. So there was evidence that group members were favouring their own group over the other group, in particular with wanting to maximise the difference in the allocation of points that represented money to their own group compared to the other group. So they did want to exaggerate the difference between their own group and the other group in terms of the allocation of points. So then the challenge for this research group, and really the challenge over a number of years, was to try and explain why there was evidence of intergroup discrimination in this baseline condition. So in a way, with this minimal group paradigm body of work, we have some findings, but we're in search of a theory. And as time went on, one of the explanations that developed for these minimal group findings was that participants had actually come to see these groups that the experimenters had developed as being relevant to their own identities. So a critical question was, why did participants behave in line with these experimenter categories? Why did they start to think of themselves as Clay and Kandinsky? And what Tajfel argues is that the distinction from the other category provided ipso facto an identity for their own group, and thus some kind of meaning to an otherwise empty situation. So participants are starting to understand the task in group-based terms, and they start to feel some sort of connection to their own group, largely because it is in distinction and contrast to the other group. So more thinking about this idea of identity leads to the concept of social identity, where it is recognised that people can define themselves in group-based terms, that people are able to think of themselves in terms of personal identity as an individual, and they're able to think of themselves as a group member in terms of social identity. And a social identity refers to the part of an individual's self-concept which derives from his knowledge of his membership of a social group or groups, together with the value and emotional significance attached to that membership. So there is this idea that the groups became important in the way in which people made sense of the situation and the way they acted in that situation. And the argument is that people allocated their own group more points and wanted to make sure they maximised the difference between the two groups in their point allocation, so that they could achieve a positive sense of self. They could achieve positive distinctiveness for their own group compared to the other group. So what would be good for you to do now is to spend some time thinking about this question and writing an answer. It's also going to be relevant to this second laboratory class. So can you describe the minimal group paradigm, and can you outline in your own words why you think it's important? So I'm going to leave you to spend some time on that, and we'll be back for the next part.